All right, guys, we got another CyberSec Tuesday event going on tonight. Tonight we have Nope going to talk on the malware known as CatGirls.exe. Feel free to take it off. Nope.
All right. CatGirls. That's not a CatGirl. Quick just about me section, because of course you gotta have one of these. I am all into like reverse engineering stuff. I mod tons of games, work on tooling, and do CTF like all the time. It's when I'm bored sometimes. I analyze malware that comes in on Vaccinator, which is the Discord server that was talked about last week, where there's like all kinds of like scams and stuff. And finally, I'm a C# fan, but a JS hater, which means there's going to be a lot of JavaScript in this presentation. All right, where does malware come from? Online downloads, fake antivirus, okay, pirated games, yeah. Compromised software, sure. See, that's the boring malware. That's the malware where it's like, you have like 50 issues that need to be fixed. Click here. And it like runs ransomware. You got phishing emails. But the most interesting, Discord private messages, the best source of malware. And the best part is it's delivered straight to you. You don't even have to go looking for it. It comes straight to you. And of course, once you get it and you run it, you get to send it to all your friends too. So, the best kind. So, malware from Discord has a bunch of different patterns that are pretty common. The one I see most often sent to me is, hey, try out my game. I want feedback. I want to see if it's good. I'll pay you even $5 if you help me test it out. Sometimes it's time sensitive. You got to do it today because I'm about to release it and I want beta testers. Sometimes there's like the, oops, I reported your Steam account. Please download this program or like whatever. There's all kinds of different tactics. But the one that we're going to be looking at is that first one, try out my game for feedback. And usually the way these work is, it is just an exe. It's something that the person who's DMing you, they just bought it from somewhere, or they're using an open source one, and they like put whatever they want in it, fill your own burrito or whatever, and then it sends back all of your credentials to their server, and like that's it. That's the end of it. You run the program. It might have something. It might be like a Unity game that's like a Hello World project from GitHub. Sometimes it doesn't do anything at all. Sometimes it just pops up like a bunch of command prompts and then closes. And sometimes it just doesn't show anything at all. But this one is a bit interesting. Oh yeah, I just had a funny thing here. Sometimes I get spam like this, but this is not the spam I'm talking about. Not sure what this guy was talking about. But yeah, here we go. So this is what, not me, but someone else got. And it was this DM. It says, hey bro, it would be appreciating if you tried my game out and giving me your thoughts about it. You can downloading it at this link. I can providing compensation for, in capital C's, constructive criticism. Thank you very much for your time. So yeah, this is the usual try my game and provide. They can provide compensations for the constructive criticism. So pretty cool. So here is CatGirls.exe. So the specimen, CatGirls.exe. Actually, there's many CatGirls.exe, but this is the first CatGirls.exe. Notice the lack of CatGirl in the picture. I don't actually know what this is about, but I promise you, all of them are called CatGirls. When you open it up, you get this. It's a very basic Win32 dialog box, handcrafted in C++, that says enter password to view CatGirls, starts with a :3 inside the text box, and has two buttons, close and view. Now, in the first iteration of CatGirls, which by the way is signed by NVIDIA Corporation, because I guess NVIDIA's into CatGirls now. When you try to use the first version and try to type any sort of password here and hit view, it will always tell you that you're wrong. So there's like, what's the password, right? And then if you hit the close button, it crashes itself in order to close instead of just actually closing the program. But we got this, and it didn't seem to do anything, which is kind of weird. Like, why would someone send you something that doesn't actually do anything? So the first thing that we're going to do is try to run this in a sandbox to see if we can get some more information. All kind of options here. In my case, I just ran this in a new VirtualBox VM running on Windows 10. And then, of course, these three tools are really great to keep in the VM: Procmon, ProcX, and Wireshark. Primarily Procmon on this one. Proc Explorer is very good if you know that it's spawning multiple processes, and Wireshark can sometimes be good. In this case, it's not, but if you know there's a lot of network traffic, Wireshark can help as well. So what happens with CatGirls.exe when you look at it in Procmon? So Procmon is going to show you all of the different events that happen, that the process goes through. And it includes things that Windows does for CatGirls.exe, which means that a lot of this that you see here is like for setting up the Win32 GUI. It doesn't actually, this isn't actually the program doing this. This is saying, hey, Windows, please help me set up the window. And then it loads all these DLLs in order to do that. So really, all of this is saying is it's doing nothing. This is just like loading fonts and loading like components and stuff for GUI. So basically, the program is doing nothing, which is very weird. So yeah, you type something in, it doesn't do anything. So finally, after a few hours, the guy got back and he says, the password is password with 90 zeros at the end. And we said back, it's not working. The text box is too small. This is actually because the text box was set with a 20 character limit. So as soon as you typed to about like the halfway point, it would just like not let you type anymore. But he's like, yeah, make sure you type it out. Copy pasting it might be a little broken. But it doesn't matter. Anything you type, it says no CatGirls for you. Sorry, but that is an invalid password. Frowny face. So that's a little weird. Could it just be not malware? Like sometimes I get weird things, like the guy who was called Spam, who just sent me like random pictures. Like it could just be just weird people on the internet. Could also be VM detection. Most of the malware authors we see, or at least at the time, were not doing VM detection. They do nowadays, although it's pretty easy to bypass. I had some script that was running to do anti-VM detection, so I didn't think it was this at the time. It's also possible just as a bug. I've seen many cases where people will release malware and it turns out like they forgot to like put in their URL to send the malware to, and then it like threw a JavaScript exception and never actually worked. So it happens sometimes, but you'd expect for a custom piece of CatGirls malware that there would not be a mistake in it. This is very unusual that it's like specifically like themed and everything, and it isn't just like a CMD window that pops up. So not really much else to do, but just open it up in a debugger and see what it's trying to do. So inside IDA, we're immediately hit with a dialog box that's asking us if we want to load debug info. And usually this is like Microsoft.com/whatever DLL.pdb. But in this case, the simple file name is discord.com/meow. It's very obviously not a place you can find like a PDB file. It did try to load meow.pdb from msdl.microsoft.com. Very obviously didn't find it, but it tried anyways. And this is IDA, and this is the main function. So the only thing to do is just run it and see what happens. So the very first thing that happens is an exception, because of course it does. But this time is actually a little interesting because the exception is very intentional, not like a mistake was made, but there's actually an instruction that is purposely causing an exception. It even says trap to debugger. Usually you wouldn't see an int3 instruction in normal code, but in this case it is intentionally throwing an exception, and then somewhere else it's going to be caught, and then the instruction pointer is going to be placed somewhere else. So like, what's that about? Well, IDA has an option to pretend like it didn't see anything. Oh, we're not going to stop on the exception. Let's just pretend like the exception is normal and pass it to the app. So you do that a bunch of times, and you find out that there's actually hundreds of int3s in this program, not just one, but hundreds of them, which is, again, very unusual. Most people who write Discord malware are not trying to be all sneaky like this. They're just trying to send the exe to people, get them to run it, and then, like, whatever, if people find out how it works, it doesn't really matter. It's just stealing your credentials and sending it somewhere. So, again, very unusual that there's, like, all of this, like, anti-debug stuff going on. But we get to this next place, and, you know, once again, it asks us if we want to do the int3. We say yes, and then we get here. And the next instruction stops the whole thing. So that's a little weird. Like, why is when I debug it, it closes the program? Obviously, it's got some sort of like, it's detecting that I'm debugging this in IDA, and so we need to do something to not get detected, I guess. So I have it open right here in IDA, and then I'm going to add a breakpoint on this, a conditional breakpoint, even though it's not really conditional. IDA essentially allows you to patch the program to do things it would normally do by setting a breakpoint that automatically sets a bunch of stuff up. And in this case, I'm telling it when it reaches an if statement to invert the result of the if statement. So in this case, it would be like, if you are in debugger, exit program, I'm making it if not in debugger, end program, which would mean if I ran this program outside of a debugger, it would think I would be in a debugger. So just a really easy trick to bypass all the checks is to just invert all the branches on the checks so that you always succeed them. I did that once, but it turns out you go through 6 different layers of these things, each with like all sorts of different checks. And it looks like the guy put a lot of effort into these checks. I tried like searching on GitHub to find if they were like copied from anywhere, and it looked like they were all custom. It doesn't matter though, because all the checks are worthless if you can just invert all of the if statements and then skip over them. So that's what I did. I had to manually set all these up for every single time I hit them. But then saw in Procmon on my other monitor, it's finally doing stuff. It's not just loading Windows GUI, it's actually loading WS232, it's loading Windows sockets, crypt-based for like HTTPS, WinnyNet, all that kind of stuff. So it's trying to connect to a server, I guess. I think actually what happened originally, because I actually ran this on like a laptop I didn't care about, and it still didn't do any of this. I have a feeling that the VM detection and the debugger detection was probably broken and was probably failing even on a real computer. So this is the first time I was ever able to get Procmon to show any of this loading, which is very interesting. I think this got fixed in CatGirls 2, but in CatGirls 1, this was the first time I was able to get that. So it's loading all this internet stuff, and it's great, but the VM didn't have any internet, so Procmon doesn't show any connections because there's no internet, so there's no connection to make. So because I know that the code is very complicated and that it makes a connection, let's just connect to the internet. Normally I don't do that. Normally I don't just like let malware just run normally on my computer, but I did it anyways. And what do we get? Oh, we get a blog. Not sure why it's a blog, but the C2 server is a blog, including articles like CatGirls, cat or girl, and my sister gave me a CatGirl robot for my birthday, and other kinds of links that randomly cycle. And then here's the HTML for the page. This just runs on some Cloudflare workers thing, like a free website, but it is like constantly changing all the time. And so, cool. But there's nothing else on here, right? There's no like malware. It's just like a blog, like you can see in the HTML. There's nothing else here. So if it is a C2, there could be like different URLs that have files to download and commands to run, but there's very clearly no files on here, no commands. It's just a 5 link. That's kind of boring. Well, eventually I was stepping through for like a few hours and I found this string pop up. The URL was actually like a bunch of cuss words. So I blacked it out. I actually originally made this for school and I didn't want to show a bunch of cuss words into a room with a bunch of professors in it. But yeah, so I found these strings in memory. I was just looking around in memory and found them. And it turns out if you connect with all of these set, it gives you the same exact website. Almost, except for there's a comment at the end with a bunch of binary stuff. So that's very interesting. But code was very complicated, and I was like, oh no, do I have to like reverse engineer the entire encryption system? Well, as I started looking into that, the guy DM'd back again and he said, did it working for you? I was thinking there was a bug in the software. I fixing it. And then post another link. The passwording is meow meow. All right, so great, version 2, everything's fixed, right? And it is. You type meow meow, and it takes you to pixiv.net, a 50-50 chance of Nekopara or Catgirl. And just to show you what it looks like if you have internet, it is actually Catgirls. So that's great, but nothing else changed. The only thing that changed is you can type meow meow, and it takes you to Pixiv to look at Catgirls. But that's it. That was like the only change when I diffed it. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to keep working on Catgirls 1, and we'll just keep moving on. So I saw that everything was string encryption, and that was making everything very difficult. So I found a script on GitHub that's like a build your own string deobfuscator with Capstone. And you can take something like this, which is just a bunch of nonsense, and you can turn it into readable code like this. And so I found a lot more useful things this way. For example, I found out that yes, this is how they're doing VM detection. They're just checking for the name of the CPU, and then checking if it's like VBox, 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 and if so, it's exiting, and all kinds of other checks. Also, 2 other interesting things I found. One is the fake user agent that's connected to the website is actually dynamically generated. The Chrome version is actually parameters for the C2 to do certain things. And secondly, I found out that it was using Node debug handler, which is how you debug Node programs. It's very interesting. Since the whole thing is C++, why would it ever need to touch Node.js? So like, what is it even trying to do? Well, we finally got a message that said, do you have Discord open? It adds the game to your Discord game library. This was back when Discord actually had games on it. It definitely doesn't anymore, but it used to. And so that basically told us, oh yes, this is totally trying to steal Discord stuff, right? So how is it going to do it? Well, it's written in Electron, uses Node.js, it's JavaScript. All you have to do is just look for the JavaScript files that run Discord and then edit them. But in this case, it does a very interesting approach, and it looks for Discord and attaches to it as the debugger. You could do the same thing if you, in certain programs, you can go into Chrome DevTools and you can debug other Chrome apps that are running. And I think this is pretty much the same trick. Basically, just like inspect elements on Discord and check some JavaScript in. All right, so installed Discord on my brand new VM, hit the view button on Meow Meow, and right when I did that, got another version. It says, does your silence mean it not working? You did not leave any feedback in game, so why releasing new update? Here you go. And then a bunch of smiley faces. Please let me know when you're running it. So I was like, okay, well, I'll add another CatGirls to the VM, but look, I'm already looking at CatGirls 1 and 2. So back to this. Started looking at the JavaScript, still on CatGirls 1. And I found out that there is, in fact, JavaScript in my Discord now. With a lot of stuff I blurred out because it was very inappropriate for school. But a lot of JavaScript and a lot of like what's going on. But that's no problem for us because this is JavaScript Obfuscator. And JavaScript Obfuscator is an open source JavaScript obfuscation program that has been defeated by multiple people, one of which is Synchrony, which is pretty easy to use. You just run a command and it deobfuscates your whole project. So I was about to do that when the guy sends me another version. Says, "Hi bro, we updating our game again, but still no feedbacking. This may be the last time we sending you game tests." And then later on said, "No man, I sending you and it's saying you playing, but you not sending feedback. You lying to us. Here man, last time." He was referring to the web server, probably because I was checking multiple like URLs to see if it would do anything. The answer was not really. So that was interesting. But I was like, okay, I know you're on version 99, but I'm still working on version 1. So I got to here finally, got it deobfuscated, and it's another layer of this. It's basically time-based, which is interesting. And it wasn't the right time at all. But the good thing is you can brute force the time and figure out what the URL was actually supposed to be. And there's a fee.xml file that you can give it with some different parameters, and we get an actual file now. It's not just like 20 bytes. Originally, you were just given a like a war message that just said like, "Hello, how are you doing today?" And it was like pretty worthless. But when you use this code, you actually get all of this. It was just some combination of the 4 version numbers on the Chrome that give you the right one. So that's cool. We use the same code to deobfuscate this one, and we get yet another JavaScript file with a bunch of inappropriate variable names and function names in it. And then deobfuscate that one, and it's this. So this is, in the end, what gets installed inside your Discord. It is console.log owo, and then set timeout, array web contents, require electron, web contents, get all web contents. And in this case, there's only one web content, it's Discord. And then for each one, execute JavaScript, alert, owo, every 5 seconds. So in the end, after all these stages, after all this back and forth, I confirmed that every single CatGirls 1, 2, 3, 6, 99 all just end up with this. It just alerts owo. It's a pop-up that says owo every 5 seconds in your Discord. Doesn't steal anything. Doesn't install anything super persistent. It doesn't like do ransomware. It just alerts owo every 5 seconds. So why? I don't know. Somebody has too much time on their hands, and the actual real answer is the script probably could have been changed later on. As to why it wasn't originally a piece of malware and why it was owo, I don't know. It's a very good question. But that was the end. And the guy wasn't joking when he said that was the last time we're going to send you game for feedback, because he never sent another one again. and that was the end.
You should have responded
That
with
is the end.
"Hello."
Should have done like a screenshot going like, oh, like, please help me, what's going on? Like, obviously, like, fake inspect element alert
Right.
or something. Oh, yeah. That was it.
There's one thing you didn't mention about all the comments inside the binaries, like fuck VT. I mean, not VT.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so every single time he sent a new binary, there was like a new comment, and then at the very end of the binary, there was a new racist joke. Every time. And it was like, is this guy just like manually updating these every time he sends us a new binary? I found out the reason why he kept sending binaries was actually to get his virus total detections down. And actually, the reason why there's a skip between CatGirls 3 and CatGirls 6 is because CatGirls 4 and 5 got like 90% detection on virus total. So that's why there's a skip between 3 and 6. And I have no idea why there's a skip between 6 and 99. But yeah.
So, important comment there, Nope. I just have to let you know that I find your presentation meme game most excellent.
Great. Yeah, I did it for a lot of students who are very immature. So I had to keep it interesting at least, because previously the presentations we did were just like people were like on white background and then just like default font, and everyone was falling asleep. So it's like I got to do something. So
well, I
made this presentation. Great. You always have to have an ending slide with spinning GIFs of things. It's not a real presentation without this.
Bring back the 90s.
Make the world go round.
I will say, I think one of my favorite like red team engagements was I put if you guys remember the duck, like the duck that would come on the screen and like just steal like your mouse and then just drag names onto the screen.
Yeah, they're still developing that.
The Goose, yeah. That was probably one of my favorite red team engagements, where I put that onto my client's environment, and there's this duck that came on, and so it was a proof of concept